You're listening to Sadai Hurriyat-e Jammu and Kashmir. This is Aska Tanveer with Cries of Kashmir. For decades, the world has witnessed the unfolding tragedy across the length and breadth of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir at the hands of the brutal Indian forces. This has been such a long-standing debate that many people are negative about it. Government leaders and ordinary people now see it as a far-reaching issue that is very difficult to resolve. But while the world has changed, the people of Kashmir, especially the youth, are still suffering in silence. For Kashmir to achieve self-determination, the world needs to confront the following questions. Will the current issue be resolved if Kashmir is in close proximity to powerful countries like the US, France and Israel? If Kashmir is in the backyard of a NATO country, is the issue still unresolved? Or will it be decided with or without the cooperation of international organizations? This bitter truth exposes the system that seems to be the center of justice, keeping millions of people in Kashmir in a perpetual state of conflict. The important state of Kashmir has been the hub of territorial disputes. The United Nations intervened in 1948 and 1949 by passing resolutions promising the Kashmiri people the right to determine their future through a plebiscite. But 75 years later, this promise has yet to be fulfilled. Over time, the urgency surrounding the Kashmir issue has faded, with governments and international institutions treating it as a manageable conflict rather than a humanitarian crisis. Even in Kashmir, many people have learned to live by toll. But the normalization of oppression does not mean that there is an end to the suffering. For young children and adolescents born into conflict, the suffering is new and the future remains uncertain. Children born after 1990 have grown up amidst restrictions, protest and violence. Their education is frequently disrupted, their mobility is limited and their mental health is affected by the trauma of growing up in a harsh military environment. More than 900,000 Indian soldiers live in the region, making it one of the most militarized regions in the world. Many have physical and emotional scars. Some family members have been lost to the violence. In contrast, others have been injured by the pellet guns, which are often criticized for causing permanent blindness. The stress of living with a standing army can overwhelm even the most ambitious. How can children dream of a better tomorrow when today is filled with fear and uncertainty? These young people are not only the victims, they are the victims of the world apathy. International responses to Kashmir vary greatly, depending on how they resolve the strategic regional conflict of powerful nations. History shows that the urgency to resolve the situation is even greater when a crisis occurs near a NATO power or a country with international influence. For example, in the Kosovo, East Timor, and Libya conflict, rapid international response in trust rather than the principle often drive emphasis on global action. In the Israel-Palestine conflict, Israel has received the same support, not because it speaks for justice, but because of its military power, economic influence, and especially its strong cooperation with the US. India's status as a global economic hub and army power gives it ample international support and enables it to prove that the Kashmiri law is wrong. Meanwhile, Pakistan, despite its modesty, does not have the same power to counter India's rhetoric. This illustrates the absurdity. How the power and capability are often not seen as fair and just in international politics. Does international law apply only to the powerful? If not, why has the world left the people of Kashmir alone for so long? The suffering in Kashmir is not only the result of India's oppressive policies, it reflects the failure of multiple actors. India has taken harsh measures to suppress the Kashmiri people, including the abrogation of Article 370 in 2019 and the stripping of the region of its independence. Civil reform is being implemented through new family registration laws to marginalize Kashmir's Muslim majority. The intense militancy in the region and the implementation of draconian laws such as the Public Safety Act have made life of the people for the ordinary Kashmiris who have long defended Kashmir's right to self-determination but have struggled to maintain strong and consistent leadership. Meanwhile, Pakistan, which has long supported Kashmir's right to self determination, has struggled to maintain a long and cohesive presence. Political divisions, the rule of law, and inconsistent policies have undermined Pakistan's ability to function effectively. Domestically, the lack of unity among the political parties, military, and other institutions has created tensions for India, which has often used it as an excuse to avoid the benefits of negotiations. Kashmir has been neglected. Trade and relations with India have often been fraught with concerns about human rights violations in Kashmir.